Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here. Today, hey guys, finally, we're back. We're talking about LEC stuff. All the people in the comments asking for LEC stories, asking for LEC news, all that stuff. Today we're going to talk about it because obviously this past week in the LEC, we saw G2 and Fnatic play, which is always an absolute banger of a matchup. It always has so many storylines to talk about, and it's always super fun and interesting, and this matchup was no different. We know when Fnatic and G2 match up a couple of weeks ago, Fnatic did get the better of them, but it was kind of surrounded in controversy. For Fnatic fans, not so much, but for G2 fans, players, the org, there was all the talk of the internet issues, whether they were lagging, packet loss, all this stuff, and all the memes that came out of it. Fnatic fans were saying that G2 was just butthurt that they lost, and G2 is saying, okay, you beat us while we were lagging, and now you're celebrating like you won an LEC title or something. And it was really hilarious. But obviously, we knew that these two teams would be playing again, and hopefully this time we'd get to see who maybe the actual better team is. Again, who really knows what happened last time, but this time the memes were out in full force before the game. G2 tweeting out, we paid the internet bill this time, hashtag LEC. So no excuses in this matchup. We would get to see what would actually happen when these two teams would match up, which is something that people are really excited for, really anticipated. Obviously, G2 looking like the super team in the LEC. They've been awesome. They've been amazing. But Fnatic has also been a super fast-paced, exciting, fun team that has had a ton of high highs and a ton of low lows throughout the season. So this matchup would for sure be interesting. But before we get into that, I just want to mention real quick, if you guys have not already, please take a second and smash that like button. I would appreciate it so much. It really helps me out the YouTube algorithm, and it's an awesome way to help support my channel and my content if you're interested in doing that. Also, subscribe to stay updated on my latest content so you don't miss out on any of the videos, content, and all that stuff that we got going on in the future. With that being said, let's get right into these highlights. G2 Fnatic, banger of a game, banger of a rivalry, and some of the best League of Legends that the LEC has to offer, honestly. Not even just in terms of gameplay. These two teams are both usually great, but storylines, rivalries, matchup, memes, all that stuff. These two teams, Caps and Reckless, just them being on G2 and making just so many more storyline and stuff. Taking a look at the drafts, G2 definitely with a much more standard and conventional draft. A lot of power picks over on their side. The Olaf, the Rel, two very strong picks right now. Nothing too crazy for the G2 side, honestly, just a pretty expected draft. But over on the Fnatic side, two things stand out to me. Obviously, the Kalista Alistar bot lane, so aggressive. Upset and Hylissang love to go for those early kills. So bot lane was going to be a bloodbath. Either Upset and Hylissang were going to get some 2v2 kills, or they were going to die trying. Something interesting is going to happen there. Then obviously Bwipo with the Yone top. This is a pick that is either going to be super good and it's going to smash and carry this game as kind of like a lane counter pick to the Groggy. It's kind of getting a free farm, free scale, and just be a monster in the late game. Or it's going to be a meme pick that Fnatic maybe regrets a little bit. But you got to go for these crazy plays sometimes. You got to go for these crazy picks. Who knows how much G2 has practiced against it or has, a strategy to play against it or whatever. But let's get on to the Rift. Let's see what's going on. And now let's see what G2 looks like when they are not lagging. This is 2.5 minutes into the game. Jankos has obviously passed to the top side because this Yone is going to be a key point in this game for both teams. If Fnatic gets ahead with Yone, G2 is not going to have much to answer it in the side lanes, so they do want to put it behind early. Jankos gets the first blood, and that is absolutely massive for the Olaf, especially in this matchup with the Lilia. Just being ahead on the Olaf early, I mean, you're already so much stronger than early. It just is so nice here. Here, Hylissang gets a little bit overextended. Mickey with the engage onto him. Jankos able to pick up another kill. Things go from bad to worse for Fnatic. They go from bad to worse for Self-Made. Jankos has such an insanely huge lead 6 minutes into the game. They're able to, use that to get an Ocean Drake as well, and about a 1,300 gold lead for G2 a couple minutes into the game. Here, Hylissang does go for the flash engage. They try to turn it onto him, but this is actually Aftershock Alistar, not Phase Rush, so he is pretty tanky. So Fnatic gets a kill back there, pretty big play. Then a couple of minutes later, they try and go for this dive onto Wonder. Still, Hylissang very tanky with the Aftershock, with the Alistar ult. They have the Kalista ult too to bring him in, but then Upset starts tanking. He tanks one too many tower shots. Wonder is able to pick up 2 kills in the 3v1 on that failed tower dive. Fnatic tries to get aggressive. They try to make a play, but Wonder does a pretty big outplay there, and Fnatic also just did not perform that dive very well. Fnatic going for another engage now onto the bot side. Wonder with the TP in behind him. It's looking bad for Upset, but he is able to flash away. He is able to survive forever because Wonder can't pop the barrel because he's CC'd. I mean, this fight just turns into an absolute mess. Reckless is not able to land any of the Jhin ults. Upset actually ends up picking up a kill onto Mickey before going down. Reckless does get the 4-shot onto him. That was absolutely insane. Wonder gets shut down by Selfmade. Yanko shows up a little bit late, but Hillside tries to recall on that bush. A little bit ill-advised there as Yanko's able to pick up another free kill, and then obviously with the Olaf ultimate, he can just kind of walk away. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Caps is picking up a free first turret, so now G2 is going to be up, what is that, like 3,000 gold 13 minutes into the game. I mean, every time Fnatic has tried to make a play, G2 has punished them either in that specific moment or somewhere else on the map, and G2's lead is just absolutely just massive at this point. You know, the Olaf's 3-0, Wonder's 2-1, Reckless 1-0 on the Jhin as well. They're just fed all over the place. They try to get aggressive on Caps here, but nothing really doing there. Mickey does kind of get aggressive. Yankos and Niski are kind of fighting. There's just fights all over the place, and that's really what always happens with G2 and Fnatic. Upset is able to pick up a tower back in the bot lane, which is great. Here, we get an absolutely massive fight at the Infernal Drink. This is one of the defining fights of the game. Mickey with the huge Rel engage was absolutely awesome to see. But then Bwipo with a big Yone engage is kind of able to turn the fight a little bit, but he ends up having to snap back to his shadow. Obviously, Olaf ends up with a triple kill there. It ends up being a 4 for 2 for G2, and I mean, that would be an absolutely pivotal play in the game. I mean, from there, G2 is up like almost 5,000 gold before even 20 minutes, and it would just really not looking good for Fnatic at that point. Here, you know, Caps is just trying to harass Bwipo under the tower. Bwipo decides to get aggressive. He gets Everfrost stunned into the Syndra ultimate, and he goes down, just gets absolutely blown up, and like I said, that Yone pick was going to be big in this game because if he got ahead, if he could side lane, Syndra, Gragas, they're not going to be able to match him, but when he gets behind and Cinder can just do that to him, I mean, this becomes a very, very easy game for G2. So it was a very, very volatile pick, obviously, by Bwipo in the top lane. It was either going to be really, really great or it was going to be really, really not great, and it just ended up not really working out this time. I mean, 19.5 minutes in, G2 has 3 dragons. They are about to pick up their 4th tower. They're up 11-5 in kills. I mean, everything is going right for G2, and maybe this is just what they look like, you know, when they have their internet situation under control, when they remember to pay the bills, when they're not lagging, which, you know, that would make sense. Here, Wonder with the flash engage body slam ultimate onto Niski. He just gets absolutely one shot. Not really much he could do there. Selfmade goes down as well. Bwipo trying to make a play. He is able to pick up a kill onto Caps, but unfortunately when G2 is this fed, that is just not going to be enough. Mickey's still full health on his engage onto Bwipo. They take him down. Hylissang tries to get away, but Reckless picks that up. And at this point, the game is pretty much just over. You know, G2 is going to push in. They're going to crack Fnatic's base. They're going to end up picking up a dragon, and I mean, from here the rest of the game was pretty much just a formality. This is about 26 minutes in. G2 does get an ace, 23-7. They have Infernal Soul. I mean, you know, not much went right for Fnatic in this game. Was really, really unfortunate to see, but again, we knew that the memes would be coming after the game. I mean, look at these ending score lines, dude. 12-0 Olaf for Yankos. That is absolutely insane. 2-1-12 on the Cinder from Caps. 5-0 Reckless. 4-2-11 Gragas. Just absolutely insane all across the board. And then obviously, you know, the memes are going to come in. Like I said, Carlos saying, I paid internet, we smashed Fnatic. All the stuff. There was just so many cool plays in this game from G2. They just absolutely smashed them. I mean, it really did look like, and this is kind of what I expected as well coming into these games, and I think we were going to see in the previous game as well, if not for the internet issues. Again, you don't want to make too much of a excuse for G2, and the regular season games don't really matter that much for either team. But I do think this G2 team is obviously a class above this Fnatic team. I think they really showed that in this game. They really did outmatch them. Now, again, you can say that Fnatic had a weird draft and they tried to go for something crazy and it blew up in their face, and maybe with a more standard draft things could have went their way, but obviously, you know, Fnatic didn't try to lose this game. They thought that draft gave them a good chance to win, probably even the best chance to win. They thought, you know, they had something figured out that was going to work against the Gragas, and if it would have worked really, really well, you know, G2 could have maybe said they just cheesed them or whatever as well. So it was going to go back and forth no matter what. When these two teams lose, there's always going to be a ton of trash talk. There's always going to be a ton of excuses both ways from fan bases, from coaching staff, from organizations, from players, yada, yada, yada. And I mean, I guess we won't really know the truth unless they match up in the playoffs and we get a full best of 5 or something like that. But even at that point, you know, we don't know if these teams will even match up in the playoffs or anything like that, or if we'll get a full series between them. I mean, we'll just have to wait and see, because it's not like these two teams are the top 2 teams at this moment. We're not guaranteed to get anything like that. If we take a look at the standings, G2 is now 11-2 with 2 weeks to go in the LEC. They're in a great position. They've had, you know, maybe a little bit of up and down, but for the most part, they've just been, you know, chilling. They've dropped a couple of games here and there, but it has never been anything too serious. And you'll see Fnatic all the way down in 5th now, sitting at 7-6. They're 4 games behind G2. They're 4 games behind Rogue, and this is with just 5 games to play. So, you know, Fnatic's not going to be catching them. Fnatic at this point is pretty much just playing for 3rd. I mean, at this point, it's pretty realistic. They could finish anywhere between 8th and 3rd. I mean, 8th would be pretty bad. Obviously, they'd have to kind of really fall apart towards the end of the season. I think it's much more likely that they end somewhere like 3rd, 4th, 5th, or 6th seems the most likely. But I mean, yeah, they're not going to be competing with G2. They're not going to be competing with Rogue, at least in the regular season. And I think that makes sense. Throughout the regular season, I think Rogue and G2 have both looked a class above most of the teams in the LEC. Now, there is a lot of people commenting like, oh, Fnatic does this every year, and then, you know, Rogue is going to choke in the playoffs, and Fnatic's going to get them. And it's like, you know, we'll see. This is a different Fnatic team. This is a different Rogue team. These are entirely different rosters. We haven't seen Fnatic do these type of things without Reckless in a while. Niski has never been a part of this stuff. You know, it's not like Niski's necessarily known for showing up in these big games and having awesome performances in playoffs or anything like that. Rogue is obviously a way, way different team. Obviously, they've filled some holes. Maybe people are not completely sold on Trimby still in the support position. But Odoamne looks like a huge, huge, huge upgrade for them over Finn so far. And they look like, honestly, not an entirely different team from last year, because obviously they are still a lot of the same stuff going on, but they look like a pretty different team from last year. They look a lot more solid. And again, I do agree with some of those Fnatic fans to an extent, because yes, regular season, especially spring split, doesn't really matter, and we really won't know about these teams until the playoffs. But just because they're saying, oh, Fnatic does this every year, I wouldn't be so sure that it's just like a guarantee to happen every year. It's for sure a bad position to be in. Fnatic doesn't want to be in the position. Rogue loves the position they're in. G2's loving the position they're in. And, you know, I'm just glad we finally got to see a matchup between G2 and Fnatic. Obviously, they split the season series. They're 1-1. Both teams got a little bragging rights headed into the playoffs and everything. But, you know, G2 was very, very convinced that it was just internet issues, that it was lag, blah, 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 blah. And they had an absolute statement of a performance today. They really wanted to come out and prove that Fnatic was not on their level. I mean, they did just that. They absolutely dismantled them from like 2 minutes in until the very end, which was only like 24 minutes into the game. So it was absolute smashing by G2. That's got to be demoralizing for Fnatic, but hopefully they can bounce back soon, because again, these last 2 weeks are going to be really, really big for them. How they're able to do in these last 2 weeks is going to, not only is it going to affect their playoff seeding and stuff like that headed into the playoffs, but it's also going to affect their momentum, their mental, their, you know, all of that stuff, their confidence headed into the playoffs. And that's going to be a very, very big thing, especially when a lot of these teams are so close. Schalke, Fnatic, Mad Lions, SK, seems like they've all just been kind of trading wins over the whole course of the season. Yes, you do expect Fnatic to have a little bit of a buff in best of 5. They have a lot more experienced players and stuff. But again, this is a different Fnatic roster. These are different players. This is not the exact same team that, you know, like made the finals at Worlds or anything like that. It's some of the same players, but it's not all of them. So, I mean, things can definitely change, and each split, each year is definitely something completely different. But that is pretty much it for this video today, guys. Definitely drop a like if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below. What do you think about this series? Do you think G2 really proved that they are way better than Fnatic? Do you think Fnatic just trolled in draft? Do you think Fnatic is going to still make it to the finals in the LEC? Do you think they're going to be able to beat G2? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on anything I talked about in today's video. Subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content. Hopefully, catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace!